Okay, can we start?
Yes, sir.
So today we will start with the most important theory from Parson, the grand theory, the generalized theory, or the master analytical framework. In different words, you will see this theory. See, we have already discussed about social action, pattern, variables, etc. Now we will see all these will be connected when it comes to this theory. Okay, so we are going to start with social system. Okay, now there is a very complex definition which is given by Parson. I will give you that definition, but before giving you that definition, you try to understand what is social system according to Parson. So, okay, so I'll give you the definition. Definition is already with me. The PDF is there. I can explain here also. But instead of going through that complex definition, we will see the understanding of social system by Parson. So first we discussed about social action, right? So we discussed about social action. Now, this social action, if it is oriented towards other person, let's suppose it is the action that I am doing, if this is oriented towards other person, so there should be an orientation. Okay, orientation towards other person. And also this action is in a state of mutual reciprocity. Okay, mutual reciprocity. That means you are also reciprocating with the action. So I am doing an action, so something, if I am asking from here and I am doing some action, you are also reciprocating. So here I am talking about action. We are moving towards system. So social action, if it is oriented towards another person, let's say A, this is done by B, and if this is in a state of mutual reciprocity, what will happen is, this situation is what? Social interaction. Social interaction. So before we move towards social system, you need to understand what you mean by social interaction. So this is clear. We are in actually an interaction process now. Is this okay? Because I am doing an action and it is oriented towards you, and it is in a state of mutual reciprocity. You are also cooperating with this, and you are also participating in this. So can I say this is social interaction as of now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this social interaction will result into a social system. This social interaction will result into a social system provided certain conditions are there. Okay, so if this interacting individuals are mediated by some common goals. Do we have a common goal? Do we have a common goal?
Not exactly, sir.
Why? Why not exactly? You don't want to pass the exam?
No.
Huh?
No, what I'm saying is, for students, for all of the students, there is a common goal. But for you, that may not be a common goal, right?
No. I also want you to pass the exam. Otherwise, I don't want to. If my goal is different, I don't want to do these things. Okay, if my goal is related to capitalism and all, I can get a lot of students in other way also. Okay, so here there is a common goal. I also want you to pass the exam. That's why I'm putting all these efforts. Otherwise, there is no point in doing all these things. So there is a common goal here. That is one condition. The social interaction will result into social system, and then it has to be based on norms and values. So do you think there is a norms and values which are followed in the class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so there are norms and values, and also there need to be an abstract boundary around us. Okay, so there should be an abstract boundary. It is not necessarily a physical boundary, it is an abstract boundary that we are talking about. Is it there between us? Yes, because no others can enter. No, we are using a password and all this login ID and all these things. So there is a boundary that we have created, and no other people can enter into this situation. So these are the conditions that need to be satisfied for an action which will ultimately resulting into social system. So are we in a social system now?
Yes.
Yes, we are in a social system. So let me repeat once again. Those who didn't understand this part, because definition, that is going to be very difficult for you to understand that definition that I'm going to give. But this is a simplified form of that definition. So first of all, there should be social action. this action should be oriented towards another person. So my action is oriented towards you, and it should be in a state of mutual reciprocity. Yes, this action I am getting reciprocated. Okay, so there is a mutual reciprocity between us. In this context, this action will result into social interaction. Now this social interaction that is between us will result into a social system if there is a common goal. If there is no common goal between us, it cannot be a social system. Similarly, there are norms and values, like I used to tell you all, always keep on, turn off your mic and all those things. If you want to ask some question, raise your hands. So all these things we are following, right? So there is a common norms and values, and there is an abstract boundary that no others can enter into our discussion. This is a closed group, and this is not a physical boundary, there is a abstract boundary. So this interaction that we have will result into social system. So we are in a social system. So this is all about social system. The understanding of social system is this much only. Then theory of social system is different. We will move towards that shortly. But before that, I want you to understand the system properly. This is what you mean by social system and the conditions, etc. Is that okay? Are we done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, shall I give you the definition of the social system? Now it's up to you. You can write the definition, or you can write in this language. This language means you can even write from your side that social action, if any social action, if it is oriented towards others and are in a state of mutual reciprocity, social interaction will take place, and this social interaction will result into a social system if there is a common goal mediated by norms and values and have an abstract boundary around them. So in this words, you can actually write that this itself. If you need to write this actions system, so social system part, you will take around 50 to 60 words for this explanation itself. But the definition that parson giving, that itself is around 80 words or more than that, or close to that. So let me give you the definition also. The definition goes like this. Just listen carefully. Anyway, when I take the PDF, I'll show you there also. Listen carefully. Consisting of plurality of individual actors. So plurality of individual actors. That means more than one actors. Okay, consisting of plurality of individual actors interacting with each other. So they are interacting with each other in a situation which has at least physical or environmental aspect. That means it should be in a social situation. So he is using a lot of technical words. Don't worry about all those things. Actors who are motivated in terms of tendency to optimization of gratification. So there should be motivation for what? Tendency to optimization of gratification. Can you tell me what you mean by what parson mean by this optimization of gratification? You can write this in inverted comma. What do you mean by this particular phrase, this word, optimization of gratification? Can you tell this in a single word? Actors who are motivated in terms of tendency to optimization of gratification. What do you mean by this optimization of gratification? This is nothing but the common goal, right? The common goal that we have. That's what you mean by optimization of gratification. What is the gratification that we all have? We all have a common goal. So actors who are motivated in terms of tendency to optimization of gratification and whose relations to their situations, including each other. That means our relation and in this situation, including each other, is defined and mediated in terms of a system of culturally structured and shared symbols. That's nothing but norms and values. Okay, so now you can decide whether you want to go with the definition or you want to go with the first part that I have explained. Either you can explain in this way, there is no problem, absolutely fine, or you can go with the definition that I have discussed now. I'll give you both and it's up to you to choose. One more time I'll explain the definition. Consisting of plurality of individual actors, okay, interacting with each other in a situation which has at least a physical or environmental aspect. Okay, actors who are motivated in terms of tendency to optimization of gratification and whose relations to their situation, including each other, is defined and mediated in terms of a system of culturally structured and shared symbols. The culturally structured and shared symbols means norms and values. Tendency to optimization of gratification means the goal. Motivation, social situation, interaction, actors. So this is nothing but, you see here what I said, there should be actors, and if this action is oriented towards others, and if there is in a state of mutual reciprocity, I've told you interaction will take place. That's what this interaction. And this interaction will take place, obviously that is in a social situation. Then the condition that we have discussed is there should be a goal, that's what we are talking about here, and then there should be norms and values. This social situation also talk about the abstract boundary. So this is what the definition, one more time I'll explain the definition, this part, consisting of plurality of individual actors interacting with each other in a situation which has at least a physical or environmental aspect, actors who are motivated in terms of tendency to optimization of gratification, and whose relation to their situation including each other is defined and mediated in terms of a system of culturally structured and shared symbol. So it's up to you whether you need to, because you don't get time to go for both of time or space, you won't get. Any of this is perfectly fine. If you can remember the definition, it is okay, fine. Otherwise, you can simply explain social system by using this. This is a clear-cut understanding. So here what you need to know, social system means there should be social action, there should be orientation, there should be mutual reciprocity, then social interaction will take place. This social interaction will result into a social system if there is a common goal, norms and values, boundary around them. That's very simple understanding.
Sir.
Tell me.
Sir, mutual reciprocity, can we say like it is the reaction to someone's action?
Yes, that's what the mutual reciprocity means. Like here we are, when you are asking something, I am reciprocating. I am asking something, you are also reciprocating with this.
Okay.
That's what I mean by mutual reciprocity. That means then only there is interaction. No, like if you are not saying anything, you are just keeping the phone on and you are going somewhere, there is actually no interaction. Okay, and this mutual reciprocity can be at a mental level also. You just sit silently and even listening to that also can be considered as mutual reciprocity, because you are reciprocating with that your attention. Okay, so that mental level reciprocation and everything, if you remember, we have discussed in case of Weber also. The orientation can occur at the mental level. You remember?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Tell me.
can we say that all social systems can be social interactions, but all social interactions cannot be social systems?
Yes, but you don't want to make such kind of interpretations here. That is true, whatever you said is true only, because it is not necessary that all interactions will result into social system. If we don't have any common goal, there won't be a system here. You may attend, if our goals are different, you may attend the class for 1 or 2 days, then after that you won't attend the class.
Yes.
Yeah, so social interaction will be there, but it does not necessarily lead to social system if these things are not satisfied. Similarly, if there is no boundary, when we are talking about this boundary, not everybody can enter into the system. If we are allowing everybody to enter into the system, what will happen? The system will collapse.
Yes, sir.
We cannot conduct a class and everything will be deviated. Similarly, norms and values should be there. Like when somebody is asking question, others are sitting silent and I'm also sitting silent and I'm reciprocating. But if everybody is asking questions and everybody is making noise, then also the system will collapse. So system won't be there. So these conditions has to be there. Then only system will be there.
Okay, sir.
Social interaction means just an addition to social action. So social action will lead to social interaction if it is in a state of mutual reciprocity. Very simple. But if it need to become social system, all these things has to be satisfied. Okay.
Sir, the social action can also happen in a mental level, right?
Social action can happen in a mental level, but that we have discussed in the case of Weber. Here the definition is slightly broader.
Okay.
Okay, now one more case. I will write down the conditions also here. For a system to exist, there should be interaction between two individuals. So from the definition only I am writing these conditions. So this is a conditions which is given by Parson. So conditions for system to exist. Okay, Urmila, can you switch off your mic? Okay. Social, there should be interaction. Okay, so that's the first part. Then interaction should take place in a social situation having a discrete physical and environmental aspect. So Parson is talking about a lot of technical words, but you just need to write here, it should be in a social situation, but in the PDF I will make it clear, and in exam you need to make it specific also what you want to convey. If it is 10 marker, just write social situation. If it is 20 marker, you write like this, the interaction should take place in a social situation having a discrete physical and environment aspect. It all depends on the situation, it all depends on the question. You need to arrange it. Okay, I'll give you the content. The content will be actually is prepared for around 60 marker, but you need to arrange it for 10 marker and 20 marker and even to an extent 15 mark also. Okay, so the third one, there are collective goals. Okay, third condition, there should be collective goals, which are actually shared by members. All of us are sharing the collective goal, and there should be a motivation. So there should be a motivation to participate. We all have the motivation to participate, and it develops a set of common values. That means norms and values in terms of consensus on role expectation. Okay, so there should be a role. There should be a clarity regarding your role. If you remember, yesterday we have discussed about dilemma in performing certain roles. In which concept? Pattern variable, we have discussed the dilemma. The dilemma is because of with respect to your choice towards motivational orientation and value orientation. But there should be a proper consensus here with respect to your choose to your line towards motivational and value orientation. So there should be a proper consensus. There should be a role expectation. So here what is the role expected from each of us, the role expected from me and the role expected from you. It is crystal clear. And then we are talking about the abstract boundary. There should be an abstract boundary around themselves in the form of shared symbols, which makes it distinct from others. So our group, which makes it distinct from others because of certain conditions. We have a WhatsApp group, we have this Zoom classes, and we have the login ID, password, and nobody can enter. So there is an abstract boundary. Okay, so these are the conditions which are given by parson. So you also need to write these conditions. So after explaining about social system, so you can either go with this or you can go with the definition. One of this is fine, both is not required. Okay, if it is 10 marker, you will only need to write this. Even that definition is also not required for 10 marker, because that definition itself will consume around 75 to 80 words. So this is enough. Social action will result into a social system. In which context? You explain that, and then you talk about the conditions for a system to exist. Okay?
Sir, in the conditions, all of these conditions are equally important, or we can say only one can be more important from here. I believe in the collective goals,
all are important. If one is not there, the system will not exist. First of all, the goal is not there, system won't exist. It has to be in a social situation. The system won't exist. There should be interaction. If there is no interaction, system won't exist. Motivation should be there. If you're just sitting, then there won't be any system. Role expectation should be there, so that there won't be any dilemma. Whether at a point of time will you be a teacher and you're going to teach something? No, that is not possible here. Right? Boundary has to be there. Otherwise, system will collapse. System cannot exist. According to Parson, we can also make some conception of system.
Ideal type, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Now, merely explaining the system is not the objective of Parson. He is also proposing a functional theory on system, and that's the most important part. Simply they will ask you AGIL model or functional theory or theory of social system or simply system, etc. Okay, so his functional theory is actually addressing two interrelated questions. So the functional theory is going to see two questions or addressing two questions. The questions are the maintenance of the social system, the maintenance of social system. That means, what is the reason why system is surviving? How we are able to maintain the system? So many students are here. See, if limited number of students are there, means it is very easy to handle. Especially in the online classes, it is very limited to handle. But still, this much of students, how we are able to manage, right? So that is a question, the maintenance of the social system, or how the system is surviving, how we are able to survive. So that is the first question. Okay. Second question that he is going to address here is the functions fulfilled by a particular system. Functions fulfilled by a system. So I've told you this is a system, and what are the functions this system is fulfilling. That also we will have to see. So how the system is managed or maintained, or how the system is surviving, and the functions fulfilled by this system. So this is what he is actually going to address through the theory of or through his theory, that grand theory or the functional theory. Okay. So you can say this theory contains two parts. The first part is mechanism equilibrium phase. There he is explaining how the system is maintained, or how the system is surviving. The first phase, let's say different phases, two phases are there. The first phase, mechanism equilibrium phase. See, I'm going for a mathematical approach here for understanding social system, with the idea that you will understand everything. That's why you can see there's a kind of objective study that we are going to conduct also. I'm trying to take it the way I'm teaching maths, exactly in the same way only I'm teaching this thinker also. Okay, so it will be very easy for you to understand here. So mechanism equilibrium phase. Second phase, that is requisite functionalism phase. Requisite, you need to write exactly the same words, requisite functionalism phase. So you can see here the first phase, mechanism equilibrium phase. That means how equilibrium is maintained. That means the maintenance of the system. This is what explained in the first phase. Second phase, the functions fulfilled by the system. That's what requisite functionalism phase. So two questions related to this is what he is addressing, and that you can see in two phases. Mechanism equilibrium phase, that is the first, then requisite functionalism phase, that is the second. And this was in the book, okay, The Structure of Social Action. I've already discussed about this book, 1937, Structure of Social Action. And then requisite functionalism phase, that is Social System, 1951. So these two phases are contained in two different books. Together is what his theory of, social system, or the grand theory. Now, in the mechanism equilibrium phase, what he is trying to identify is the maintenance of the social system, how the system is maintained. And this is always asked in the exam, like moving equilibrium or equilibrium, how equilibrium is maintained. Okay, all these kind of questions you can see previous years. So what Parson says is, every society is having certain mechanisms, and the role of these mechanisms is basically to fulfill certain needs. And because of that, since we have a mechanism, so I am able to fulfill certain needs, so there is an equilibrium. Then if there is a disturbance in equilibrium, the feedback will be given, and again specific mechanisms, okay, like I'll show you in a diagram here. So there are specific mechanisms in society. Specific mechanisms in society. The role of these mechanisms is basically to fulfill certain needs. Okay, fulfill certain needs, and this will bring the society in equilibrium. So society will always be in an equilibrium because of various social institutions, like family is there, family fulfills certain needs, religion is there, legal system is there, all these fulfill certain needs and will bring in an equilibrium. But some point there can be disturbance. So there can be a disturbance. So when disturbance is there, when the equilibrium break, this is a temporary abnormal situation. According to Durkheim, if you remember, we have discussed temporary abnormal form. And I've told you the solution for that according to Durkheim. Here what Parson says is, there can be disturbance in equilibrium. Then what will happen? There will be a feedback to the mechanisms. So the mechanisms will act again and fulfill the needs. Okay, for example, like in the industrial, there was joint family before, right? And when the industrial society, the joint family fulfilled certain needs and the society was in an equilibrium. But when the industrial society emerged, there was a need for nuclear family. So what happened? The specific mechanisms acting, and there is an emergence of nuclear family, and nuclear family fulfilled the needs and back to equilibrium. Then further developed, there is the concept of nuclear family gave way to live in relation. Okay, and then that started fulfilling the needs and equilibrium, and disturbance coming, then feedback. So again maybe different other setup, or like if you talk about internet, okay, when internet came, all these are considered as very good. and it is fulfilling certain needs and it brought equilibrium in the society. Okay, but later what happened? Cyber laws and all came. Okay, and then what happened? Police, judicial system, everything has to be more active. So this disturbance break when there is a cyber crime comes. So what will happen? The feedback will be given. So what will happen? New cyber laws will come. That will fulfill the requirement. Then again back to equilibrium. You got it? So society will always be in an equilibrium. And this concept is what you mean by moving equilibrium. Any doubt here? You can ask me now. That's it. Are you okay with moving equilibrium?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So society will be always in an equilibrium. That's what you mean by moving equilibrium. And here you can see similarity with Durkheim. Durkheim also says almost the same thing. It is temporary and it can be fixed with some effort. So Parson also says the same thing. It is temporary, the feedback can be given, will be given automatically, and society will take care of it. But what Marx says a revolution, right? That's the difference. Now can we move towards the second part?
Sir, could you say that if any situation in which inequilibrium will be there for a long time, can you quote any situation like it?
No, equilibrium, say, society will, like if you talk about ancient society and all, equilibrium was there in long time. Modern society, only this problem, equilibrium keeps on changing. Maybe every day equilibrium keeps on changing. Like you used to go for normal classes, now because of corona that equilibrium break, so there is a disturbance, so new mechanisms is coming, now maintaining equilibrium. It's almost like, you know, you are more comfortable now, you can sit in the home anytime, you can attend the lecture, so again bring back to equilibrium. You will not face much problems here. So society will automatically keep a check on, you know, that equilibrium. Society will always maintain equilibrium. Now nobody is thinking of, you know, going to coaching institutes by spending all this money and you know taking drive and all this traffic and all these problems. Okay, so it is very comfortable. So automatically this will become the new equilibrium.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, it is now. There is no long-term equilibrium in the modern society. That is a problem with modern society. Every day keeps on changing. No, things are keep on changing every day. New crimes are there. New laws will come. Okay. Yeah. Next is the requisite functionalism phase. That is the second phase. Requisite. The first phase, the question can be separately asked from the first phase, like moving equilibrium directly. You will see the questions. If you see 10 mark questions, you can see almost all alternatives. And from requisite functionalism phase also, you will get questions. It can be 10 mark, it can be 20 mark, directly AGIL model. I will teach you what is AGIL model. Okay, and after that you won't forget this. So the AGIL model, first I'll tell you what Parson says is, this is where actually his grand functional theory is coming. He says for any system to survive, okay, the mechanisms that we have discussed, these mechanisms we have discussed are basically classified into four types. So these mechanisms, for any system to survive, specific mechanisms are required, and these mechanisms can be understood in terms of, you know, four mechanisms. Or Parson says there are four functional requisites. So four functional requisites for any system to survive. So with this four functional requisites, any system will survive, or for the survival of the system, these four functional requisites are essential. Okay, so it means that in order to survive, every social system must fulfill these four functional requirements, and the four functional requirements are adaptation, goal attainment, integration. I'll explain each one of this. Integration and latency, and you can mark this as A, G, I, L. So this is what, you know, popularly known as AGIL model. Now, what do you mean by adaptation? Adaptation means, when we talk about adaptation is the generation and acquisition of resources from the outside environment. Okay, so generation and acquisition of resources from the outside environment and ensure its distribution in the system. So it's like what all things we need, what all the resources we need for this class, all this iPad, the pencil and the paper, pen, phone, computer, all those things, right? So this is what you mean by acquisition of resources for the survival of the system. And in the context of society, which system is performing this function? It is the economic system. Economic system perform the function of adaptation. You got the point. Adaptation means generation and acquisition of resources from the outside environment and ensure its distribution in the system. So we have a system here. We have developed a system. For survival of that system, we need to satisfy the adaptation requirement. And what are that requirement? What are the resources? This iPad is there, phones are there, the books are there, the pens are there, the laptop is there, internet, all those things, right? And which system fulfill that requirement? That is the economic system in the context of society. Okay, is that clear? Yeah, second, this is the first one. Second one, goal attainment. Goal attainment. So goal occupy an important position in Parsons' understanding of social action. Action also we have seen goal, and here also you can see. So goal is a basic requirement for the survival. Okay, so goal is considered very important by Parsons, and it involves not only the determination of goal but also motivation of the members and mobilizing their energies to achieve the goal. So we have a common goal, but at the same time the members must be motivated and they should be having proper energy also. So in the context of society, the political system fulfill this particular functional requirement. We are generalizing it. Okay, so in case of political system, it is in case of society, it is a political system which establishes the goals. Third one is integration. So third one is actually integration. So for any system to survive, there must be coherence, solidarity, coordination between different parts, right? So in the context of society, the coordination is ensured through the cultural system. So cultural system, because of that, certain norms and values, certain laws, religion, family, all these are actually the reason for integration. So for any system to survive, there should be integration. That means coherence, coordination, solidarity, all this cooperation, all these things should be there. So AGI. Now L is latency. Latency means the hidden aspect, the latent aspects, okay? Something which is hidden. So it implies storing, organizing and maintaining the motivation of the elements of the system. So latency means the hidden aspects like, tension management. So how the tension is managed, how the pattern is maintained. Okay, so these things will be coming under latency. These are the hidden aspects. So we follow a certain pattern. So how this pattern is maintained, the class and everything is in a particular pattern. So maintenance of the pattern and the management of tension. So this is basically done by the family system according to Parson. Okay, so especially tension management etc. is actually done by the family system. So adaptation, goal attainment, integration and latency. Any doubt here? So these are the 4 functional prerequisites for any system to survive. And this is nothing but abstractions of these mechanisms. We have told you to fulfill certain needs. If you fulfill needs, it will be in equilibrium. So for any system to be in equilibrium, some mechanisms are required, and that is the abstractions of these mechanisms is what we can understand in terms of these 4 functional prerequisites: adaptation, goal attainment, integration and latency. So for any system to survive, these are the 4 functional prerequisites, or these are the requirements for any system to survive. The last one, latency, is the hidden part. This will avoid the stress, tension, strains etc. in the system. Okay, now after this you can see Parson represent this in a matrix form. Like you will draw I will show you this in the diagram also, in the PDF also. You can draw or you can see this in this format, AGIL. So parson represent this in a matrix. Okay, and after that, you know what parson says is, I've told you already, this adaptation is met by economic system. So you can see here, economic system in itself is a system. You got it? Economic system is a system which also have the functional prerequisite. If that system, economic system, need to survive, which also need to have some prerequisites. So what Parson saying is, even though adaptation needs are fulfilled by the economic system, which in itself is a system, so which in itself has further functional prerequisites has to be met. I'll show you it here what do you mean by that. So I hope you understood that, AGIL. So what I'm saying is, if adaptation needs are met by a system which in turn further have the adaptation need or the 4 functional requirements, so that you can show like this, AGIL. Now again within this also, if the adaptation needs are met, which in turn further have the 4 functional requirements, so it will go like this. It is never ending. So that's what grand theory or abstract theory. So if you remember the first line that we have written when we started off with Parson mainly dealt with abstractions, and here is it how is making it abstraction. And further what Parson says is, all these systems are interrelated and interconnected. So you can see here how interrelated, AGIL. Okay, so there is a connection. These two are connected. 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 These two are connected, and these two are connected. So all are interconnected. Okay. Now further, in case of society, if you try to draw this diagram in case of society, how will it look like? AGIL model of society, if you need to draw AGIL model of society. This was actually asked as a question before, AGIL model of society. So in the context of society, adaptation needs are fulfilled by whom? I have told you already. Which system? Adaptation needs? Economic system. Okay. So economic system. And then goal attainment, political system. Integration, it is the cultural system. In case of latency, it is family, or you will read fiduciary system. Okay, so these are the 4 systems which you can write in the context of society. So in this way, you can say Parson proposed a grand functional theory. And if you see one more, recently the last year, university as a system, they have asked. So here we are discussing about society as a system. So these are the components. So what do you think university? If you see, everything is left out to your imagination now. Whatever you feel like adaptation needs are given, satisfied, or goal attainment, integration, latency, Parson is leaving everything mostly to the you people. You can show your creativity and your understanding also here. Okay, so like adaptation needs are basically met by university. If you see, like the finance department. Okay, so you can write finance department. Okay, and you can explain that. And then here, if you see goal attainment, like there will be student bodies, there will be political system within that, right? There will be a governing body, various governing bodies you can write. Okay, you can write more here. Arun, tell me.
Sir, can you write administration in the goal attainment part?
Which one? Various governing body. Administrative body is also part of governing body. You can write that. That is why I have generalized here. Various governing body.
Okay.
Okay. Now what about integration? Integration you can write like the interaction between the students and teachers, between the students, between different colleges, various inter-college festivals. Okay, all those things you can write. Okay, so interaction between student, teacher, college festivals, etc. Okay, etc. What about Latency. See, in case of society, I've told you family system, mainly tension management, etc. This is hidden aspect, right? So hidden aspect has to be managed. So like psychologists, right? Or you can say counselors. Every university, every college will have counselors to take care of this. Or, you know, informal level, you can say peer-to-peer level, you know, tension management is there in the colleges, right? So again, it is open to you, whatever you feel like which is satisfying or satisfying the conditions or suitable to this condition, you can write. But this was the last question which was asked, and this one also asked before. So I hope you understood. If any question is asked, you should be in a position to understand what are the AGIL requirements. AGIL means adaptation, which gives the resources. Goal attainment, which gives that motivation. Integration, which gives that coordination. Latency, which maintain that hidden aspects. So that's it. And if you know that any system, whatever they're asking, you can simply write. Okay. Now, do you remember yesterday we have discussed about action systems, and we have discussed about 4 action systems. We discussed about 4 action systems like organismic system, personality system, cultural system, personality system, etc. Okay, they are nothing but the abstractions of AGIL model according to Parson. So if you extend these things further beyond society level, if you go slightly beyond, the adaptation needs are actually met by organismic system, the physical aspect, right? Yesterday we have discussed this organismic system. Then the goal attainment needs are actually met by the social system. Okay. Then the integration needs are met by the cultural system, because cultural system we yesterday understood already. Social system is about the interaction, cultural systems is nothing but the norms and values, organismic system is the physical aspect. What is the latent aspect, or what will come here? Latent, hidden aspects, or the mental aspect?
Personality system.
Personality system. Okay. So he is extending this further at this level. So whatever we have discussed in the action systems are nothing but the abstractions of AGIL model according to Parson. So what I said is this, we started off with this. Social action will, if it is oriented towards others and are in a state of mutual reciprocity, social interaction takes place, and that will result into a social system if these conditions are satisfied: goals, norms and values, boundary. And you can see that conditions here in detail. The interaction should be there, social situation, collective goal should be there, motivation should be there, role expectation should be there, abstract boundary should be there. And then we have discussed about, you know, this his theory is addressing 2 questions: maintenance of a system, and we have discussed that in terms of equilibrium, moving equilibrium. Functions fulfilled by a system we have discussed in case of AGIL model. Okay, so mechanism equilibrium phase and AGIL model. So this is a mechanism equilibrium phase. You have to show it in this diagram. Never draw the vertical diagram, try to draw the horizontal diagram, you can get the space. And then this is the AGIL model: adaptation, goal attainment, integration, latency. Okay, so this can be seen in a matrix also. Parson only drawn and shown this in a matrix, so it can be understood like this. So here, what does this means? If a adaptation need or goal attainment need or integration need are met by a system, which in turn further have further needs, right? So for example, if you talk about goal attainment, that is political system. Political system also have further needs. Okay, so this will become AGIL. Similarly, again within that also AGIL, there will be within that also there will be system which has to satisfy those 4 requirements again. And then we said that all these are interconnected. And then we have seen the AGIL model of society. This was a question, AGIL model of university, and we have taken it to that higher level of abstractions, that is dealing with action systems. Okay, now can we move to the PDF?
So how will the organism system become an economic system? How we relate to this?
No. Organismic system is not becoming an economic system. Here, economic system means in the context of society. You see here, this is in the context of society. In the context of society, adaptation needs are met by whom? Economic system. We are not saying organismic system and economic system are same. We are saying...
So how we relate to it? How we relate to it? And adaptation means organism system, how will it come under?
Because nothing else will be suitable over there.
Okay, sir.
Nothing else is suitable. Adaptation means it is the physical aspect, that is the resources, we can say nothing else is suitable, and that is the abstract level.
Okay, sir.
So in that context only, I am not comparing economic system with organismic system. I am comparing adaptation with economic system here and adaptation with organismic system there. Both are entirely different situation and condition. That is going far away. That is abstraction. We are going to talk about abstractions over there. Here it is easy.
Okay.
At the societal level it is very easy and this is easy to understand this.
Yes, I understood.
Yeah. Okay, I'll move to PDF. Okay, this part we have done yesterday towards action system, social interaction. Now let's move with the theory of social system. So, yeah, according to Parson, if the actions are oriented towards, can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, according to Parson, if the actions are oriented towards others and are in a state of mutual reciprocity, so it should be oriented towards others, mutual reciprocity, social interaction will take place. Social interaction will result into a social system if the interacting individuals are mediated by some common goals and based on norms and values and have a boundary around them. So in his book Social System, Parson defines social system as it is optional for you. Either you can go with this first part or you can go with this part. So consisting of plurality of individual actors interacting with each other in a situation which has at least a physical or environmental aspect, actors who are motivated in terms of tendency to optimization of gratification, you can write this in inverted comma, optimization of gratification, and whose relation to their situation including each other is defined and mediated in terms of system of culturally structured and shared symbols. Are we okay? Parson developed certain conditions for a system to exist. These are, there should be interaction between two or more individuals. The interaction should take place in a social situation having a discrete physical and environmental aspect. I've underlined everything, at least those key words only you need to remember. There are certain collective goals which are shared by the members. The members are motivated to participate. It develops a set of common values or consensus on role expectation which is influenced by motivational and value, or which is influenced by motivation of the individual and norms and values of society. It is nothing but the motivational and value orientation only. Okay, so it is nothing but motivational orientation and value orientation. The interacting individual develop an abstract boundary around themselves in the form of shared symbols which make them distinct from others. Parson understands social system as a distinct reality but argued that it must be seen in terms of other action system. Merely understanding the social system is not the aim of Parson. He also develops the theory of social system. His theory is a functional theory of social system which is proposed in the book Social System and towards a generalized theory of action. This structural functional theory mainly addresses two interrelated questions: the maintenance of social system, that means the survival of the system, and the functions fulfilled by a particular system. Parson functional analysis developed in two phases: mechanism equilibrium phase, this is a question for you, and there's another question for you apart from a long question, social system. Okay, so in the first phase contained in the book The Structure of Social Action 1937 and the second in the Social System 1951. Mechanism equilibrium phase. Initially, Parson emphasized on identifying different mechanisms which helps in the maintaining the equilibrium in society. Equilibrium is a dynamic one, that is, society keep on changing but it always remaining in an equilibrium. This is what you mean by moving equilibrium. Society keep on changing and keep on maintaining the equilibrium. Specific mechanisms helps in maintaining the equilibrium by providing feedback to other mechanisms which operates to restore the equilibrium if any disturbance occur. Family law, etc. Okay, so this is how there are mechanisms which fulfill certain needs, bring equilibrium. If there is a disturbance, there will be a feedback given, they will function again and fulfill the need, then back to equilibrium. Again disturbance, and this is what you mean by moving equilibrium. This will continue. Next is requisite functionalism phase. In this phase, he develops a grand functional theory. He classifies all these mechanisms as fulfilling only 4 types of functional requisites. 4 types of universal functional requisites. Okay, it means that in order to survive, every system must fulfill 4 functional requirements: adaptation, goal attainment, integration, and latency, popularly known as AGIL model. So adaptation, it implies generation and acquisition of resources from outside environment and ensure its distribution in the system. In the context of society, adaptation needs are fulfilled by economic system. Goal attainment, goal occupies an important position in Parsons' understanding of social action. Similarly, in the case of system, goal is a basic requirement for survival. It involves not only the determination of goal but also motivating the members and mobilizing their energy to achieve their goal. It is ensured by political system in the context of society. Integration, for any system to survive, there must be coherent solidarity and coordination between different parts. In the case of society, the coordination is ensured by the cultural system. Latency, it refers to the hidden or latent aspect of the system. It implies storing, organizing, and maintaining the motivation of elements of the system. The maintenance of these motivation is a function of 2 interrelated problems, or it can be said that latency has 2 aspects. One is pattern maintenance and then the tension management. Pattern maintenance means it refers to the motivations of the members to display appropriate characters in terms of needs, roles, aspirations, etc. That is, there should be a clarity required in terms of cultural expectation in these terms. Tension management, it concerns with the internal tension, strains of an actor in the system. Thus, pattern should be maintained and tension should be managed for the survival of the system. Parsons represent the 4 functional requisites in the form of a matrix. Okay. Then further, Parson attempt to generalize the AGIL model by arguing that if here is the generalization coming. If one functional requirement is met by a system, which in turn further have 4 functional prerequisites. Thus, finally, that means this 4. For example, here is what I have told you. Adaptation needs are met by whom? Economic system. But this is also a system. So economic system also have what? AGIL needs. Within that also, adaptation need will be fulfilled by some system, which in turn further have that. Like I can draw like this also. AGIL, right? So this I and L will come here. G will come here. Clear, no? Further, Parson concluded that all functional requisites are interrelated and dependent upon each other. That is, functional requirements is related to each other and it can be represented like this. Okay, here it is not shown like this. You can draw this. Okay. You can draw this. Okay. So interrelation. Further, Parson represent the AGIL model of society. This is how it is: economic system, political system, cultural system, family system. In this way, Parson proposed a grand functional theory of system which applied not only to a social system but to all system. It is a master analytical framework which may be used to understand the survival capacity of any system. Further, Parson views of action system as nothing but the abstractions of the system, fulfilling the 4 functional requirements. This is how organismic system, social system, cultural system, and personality system. Okay, next topic we'll do next day. So that's it. Any doubts?
Sir, last one, can you repeat please? Just this last one.
This one, right?
Yeah, this one please. Yeah.
He's saying, this is something which we have discussed yesterday already. So we have discussed about action system. What he's saying is, the action system that we have said or parson said before, that is nothing but the abstractions of the system theory. What is the system theory? System theory is nothing but AGIL. Okay, the four functions which has to be fulfilled. Now if you go beyond anything and if you try to explain everything, if you go to that abstract level, ultimately what you can see is AGIL model is nothing but organismic system, social system, cultural system. Organismic system means the physical aspect. The physical aspect. Social system means the interaction aspect. The cultural aspect means the norms and values aspect. Norms and values. Personality system means it is a hidden mental level aspect. So at the abstraction level you can see the system like this. The four functional requisites like this.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Tell me anything else? Any doubts? Okay, can we stop here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, see you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.